Thank you for listening to the Kyle and Tim podcast, where we have authentic conversations that help cultivate a better understanding of ourselves, our guests, and the world we live in. This podcast is about our guests, getting to know them, their backgrounds, experiences, thoughts, and ideas. We really appreciate you listening. Before we introduce our next guest, we'd like to introduce a few of our sponsors that help make this podcast possible.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Mountain Mule Transportation, located here in Bozeman, Montana. Mountain Mule is a private SUV and truck service, offering chauffeur services in all of Southwest Montana. Whether it's your next skiing, hunting, or fishing trip, early morning or late night trips to and from Bozeman Airport, as well as weddings and private parties. No matter the occasion, Mountain Mule will get you there safely and on time. To learn more, visit mountain-mule.com and book today.
Are we going?
Hello, folks. Welcome to episode number 68 of the Kyle and Tim podcast.
Damn, I wish it was 69.
Today, it's just me and Kyle here, and we're just catching up, and we're going to pull up some ChatGPT prompts here and have a conversation about it. So I'm going to start with the first prompt for Kyle. Kyle, what is success, really? How has your definition changed since childhood, and how might it still be evolving?
I think it's constantly evolving. I think it changes as you go through stages in life. I think you can be really interested in something for a while. Maybe it's a couple of years, maybe it's 5 years. And so like you'll do that a lot, whatever. Let's say a hobby, could be your career that you're super interested in, could be a person that you're very interested in. And so I think you like strive to make those things in your life go well. And so that like can be like a form of, hey, I'm being successful right now. You know, like, hey, my career is going well, my relationship's going well, and I'm enjoying my hobbies. And so like that could be a success, right? But then I think it evolves as your career evolves, your relationship may evolve or end or start a new one. Yeah, so I think success evolves. I think at one time I probably thought it was like material things, car, house, neighborhood, money in a bank account. I think now it's more so of like how am I doing personally, and how do I experience the world? If I experience the world like in a generally positive, optimistic way. I think for me, success also means that like there's like forward progression. So I am making progress on my goals and making progress towards, what I think are my next steps. If I'm always making a little bit of progress, I'm usually pretty happy. If I feel like stagnant and I'm like I don't feel like I'm making progress on my goals, I'm usually not happy, which then I think I'm not being successful. That's what I got, man.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
What do you think, Tim?
Well, that's a great question, Kyle. What do I think?
What is success to you? How has it evolved? What does it mean to you in the past? What does it mean to you now?
Yeah, probably from my adolescent years, it was like just monetary. It's probably just money. Like how much money are you making, or what kind of truck do you have? What kind of house do you have? Like that. I think that's pretty Western American culture. And then it definitely evolves. And then it's, who are you dating? Who's your girlfriend? Who are your friend groups? And yeah, like that's probably all the vain things that like you're just raised as anyone in Western society. And then it probably evolves as you get older to how, at least for me, how content am I with my life, with what I'm doing, what I'm contributing. And yeah, am I getting in better shape or worse shape? Are my friend groups getting better or worse? Are my relationships getting better and worse? I think probably now the way I'd measure success is the quality of the relationships I have in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very, I know that sounds really good, but I still want to be financially successful and, have a good career, my career doing well in my business. But I think it still comes down to the relationships at the end of the day. If my business is doing great, or, my career's going well, or my fitness, and I've got no one that I'm interested in sharing that with and experiencing it with, I don't think it had much value to me.
Yeah. Right.
So, when there's people in your life that you're motivated by or inspired by, you want to keep up with them, and you want to show them what you did, and like, hey, look, we're achieving this and we're growing. And I don't know. I don't think you can do it very long on your own until it's just loses all its interest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. The whole concept of success is very subjective. The phrase that I hear Alex Hormozy say a lot is should, and he wants to take that word out of he tries to take that word out of his just out of his dictionary vocabulary. Because it's interesting when you say I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or people should do this, and it's a completely subjective statement, as if there's some rule book of how you should live your life and what you should do for your career. But I don't know. That's like, it's totally personal preference. What do what works for you? What works for your personality type? So I don't know. But I think mine's ultimately changed to the quality of the relationships I have with people. And like all that other stuff means something to me, but it doesn't mean as much if I don't have good relationships with, friends, family. Because it's, I don't know, like I'm pretty sure when we achieve something or have any type of success, we're really excited to tell people about it. And we're really excited to hear about, when people do well. But if you have no one to tell it to, or no one that you care to tell it about, it sounds pretty depressing. So I guess that's how I'd say it's changed from complete vanity to more meaningful connections.
Yeah. I like that one. I think we could spend a lot of time on that topic. Like, there's a lot of little rabbit holes to go down. I also think, I guess one of the things I'm thinking about right now is like kind of crossing a bridge, if you will, is like an analogy of like, you work hard to like learn something. It might be learn something about yourself. It might be learn something about the world. It might be learn how you, learn how you understand the world. And once you learn that, you don't have to go back across the bridge. And so like you like passed, this thing and then life gets easier. And so, I think about there's things that bothered me like 5 years ago, and I'm at peace with them. They don't bother me anymore. And so I learned how to deal with it, cope with it, or accept it. And I think that can be success too, in the sense that like, nothing really like materially changed. Is just like the way I think about it or the way I understand it. And so I think if you can accumulate a lot of those things in your life, is like get to a place where you've accepted these things. And I mean accept them like in not like settle. I don't mean like settle. I mean like truly accept them of like, okay, I understand that thing. It doesn't bother me anymore. And I'm more at peace with them. And now I don't have to like spend so much brain energy being frustrated with it.
I wonder what level of that is just you maturing and putting less importance on it, or, like caring less, for lack of a better way to say it. Because I don't know, as you discover more things about yourself and the world, and then you kind of realize, oh, that really doesn't matter. Like that's pretty insignificant. I used to care so much about that, be so anxious about that, and now I realize, oh, I don't know. Just as you mature, you realize like how much all these little things are so insignificant in the grand scheme of life, and what's really important. I had an analogy that I thought of when I was saying the quality of the relationships. So if you went to a restaurant, even if you're in a restaurant sitting by yourself, but if you're in a good restaurant with some friends and you have this, you just get this awesome burger and it's so good. So you start telling your friends like, oh my God, this is so good. This tastes so good. And if you're by yourself, you might tell the waiter or the waitress, this burger was bomb. That was so good. The sauce on that, what kind of sauce is that? And like, but you want to tell somebody how good it is. And, if you're sitting at your house by yourself, eating that burger, and maybe you ordered it, maybe you made it, like what a lot of people would do is take a picture of it, post it on social media.
This is the fucking shit.
And tell people how good it was. But you would it'd be, you're just sitting there like, yep, this is so good. Oh, my life is perfect. And you wouldn't just sit there and like, yep, that's it. And then, go about your day by yourself. Like it'd just be weird, but you usually want to tell somebody. So I don't know if you got people you're excited to tell. And then you just start to realize the way those people either make or break your entire life. Because you got a bunch of buddies that you're like, hey, I'm lifting this much, and this is how much I ran this week. Or it's like, hey, man, this is how many beers I drank today.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So those people will, those friend groups, those relationships, friendships, and intimate relationships are going to make or break everything. So I don't know. I guess that's just back to success. And then I think just to what you were saying, maybe it's, you get to a level of maturity and experience where you realize how much things don't matter. That I do laugh when I look back at some things that I lost sleep over and was so worried about. And you're just like, oh my God, that's what you do when you're 22. Like that's what you think is so important. Stressing out about God knows what. It's hard to even believe.
Yeah. And I think so, to take that a little bit further, and I'm like thinking about this in real time, because what else would I be doing? Thinking about it in the past.
You might have been thinking about it all night last night.
Yeah, I keep coming back to like the idea in my mind is like peace, coming to being at peace with all these things. Because if you can just like be at peace with all these things, that really means that you're not worried about them, and you carry less weight around, less mental weight, with all kinds of things, and you're just like raw with who you are, and so you're not like second guessing everything and trying to impress people or or what have you. So I think success is like mental.
Yeah, I told you just listening to a podcast today with Mark Manson, and he said, like either confidence or fear. Either way, you're just kind of guessing, like
100%.
Because you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid this isn't going to work out. Or you're like, yeah, this is definitely going to work out.
And you're delusional either way a little bit.
Either way, you're just to some, and like it's not completely true, because if you're really competent and you've done something thousands of times, you're going to have a different sense of confidence versus you've never done this before. But there is a level to that where you're just like, because some people just have this delusional confidence that is a huge advantage, because some people won't even try.
Yeah, and I think there's a even though I would also, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think that there's two things can be true at the same time. Like even though somebody's done something many times, sometimes it doesn't work out and they do a really shitty job, you know? Like think about if you're a baseball player and you have a fucking MVP season. Sometimes you don't even make the All-Star team the next year, right? And so, I think we're all delusional, to an extent, especially about the future because we don't know what it holds. However, the whole confidence thing, it's like, well, I am confident about the future and I'm going to move forward confidently because my other choice sucks.
And if they got that good delusional confidence, even when they have a bad season, like I didn't expect that to happen. I'm so good. That was a weird fluke year.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, and so you should carry yourself that way because, like, what's the worst is like to get down on yourself. And you're like, how's that going to help you? It's definitely not going to help your performance if you beat the shit out of yourself mentally all the time.
And I don't follow any sports like I follow baseball, but when a baseball player gets into a slump,
it's bad,
and you just know they're in their head.
They're so superstitious about it.
And it's, like whether it's hitting or like there's a few guys in the major leagues who haven't been able to throw a ball like to save their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, that sucks because it's actually relatable. You're like, yeah, when you get two in your head, it's not. And then it can go the other way too. Sometimes you get on a roll and you're like, man,
I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, like you can't, like nobody can touch me. Like what? Don't even try. And I don't know. So it's interesting how contagious it is.
Yeah.
There's like,
how did we get there? How did we get on that? Confidence and fear. You and Mark Manson. That's how we got there.
Yeah, I don't know what that. Well, we were just talking about if the things you used to worry about that you don't worry about anymore. Yeah. When we pull up the next prompt.
Sure.
There was somewhere I was going to go with something, but I lost my train. What did the next one say? It just came to me for a second too, and then it left. It says, is there a such thing as a truly selfless act?
I mean, I'll go with the easy answer and say no. I think even with like the purest of intentions, I think we get some benefit out of that quote unquote selfless act, even if it just makes us feel better about ourselves. And you're like, oh, I did the right thing. And it's like, well, yeah, you did the right thing, but you that's because you thought it was the right thing. And so therefore you did it. So you feel good about yourself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And, if there were more people in the world doing selfless acts, it would be a better place.
I've heard more people say this than I can count, that it's one of the most selfish things you can do is, do something nice for somebody else because it feels so good. Mm-hmm. You literally feel like a better person. Like, yeah, no, like, I got you, man. I'll take care of you. Like, how about you dinner? I'll let you go ahead of me. Like, come on, man. Like, we're all in this together. Come on. And you feel better. Like, I'm actually kind of not a piece of shit right now.
Yeah. So I think that one in my mind is an easy one. It's like, let me think about what scenario is there a selfless act?
Do you want to hear the thought process I had as soon as I asked you? I said, well, you could do. This was a life or death situation, and you said no. Like take me instead of that person. Like I'm gonna sacrifice my life for that person. Like what could be more selfless? And then I said, well, life's pretty hard. Some people are just trying to get out of some work.
Yeah.
So I don't. I think you could chase any example down and find a reason that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about like, what if, you did something really nice for somebody and then like you never saw them again, but at the same time, you still feel like you did something nice for them. And so you kind of did it for yourself. So that was an easy one. We closed the case on that one.
What do you think? I'll add a layer to it though. What do you think the disconnect is between, if it really does always benefit you, at least in the sense that you feel like that, that you're doing better to other humans, which you are presumably.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the disconnect is between human nature to be selfish and greedy and, you know what I mean? Because that sounds great in theory to put people before you and do nice things because it feels good for you. But why is human nature always put ourselves first and, have greed and scarcity mindset? Because there's obviously some sort of disconnect there.
I don't know. I mean, I think I was thinking about this the other day. This was yesterday. I journaled and I wrote down a list of all the things that are going well in my life. And I looked at the last 6 months, basically call it 3 to 6 months. And I wrote down these things and I realized, I was like, man, I really haven't been noticing these things. They've just been happening day to day, week to week, month to month. I have not been noticing them. I'm like, man, I'm just going through life not noticing all these great things. So I think that, to your question, reminded me of well, maybe it's human nature to be greedy and have a scarcity mindset and think for the people are out for themselves, but maybe that's just our own mindset. And so I think there's people out there that have a more optimistic mindset and that are happier and are appreciating and grateful of these things. Not to say that they aren't selfish at times, but I would argue that my default has been looking out for myself, and my default has been a scarcity mindset, and my default has been one of being vigilant, and let's look around every corner and make sure that there's nothing bad there. I don't really want to be that way anymore, and so it has been a slow process for me, but I do think in the last 5 years or so, more than that, a little bit longer than that, 5 to 8 years, I'm getting better. I would like to accelerate that, and change my default setting.
Yeah, I think probably a level of it too is just in your DNA, because as a human, you would, one of your main goals is to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
And to stay alive, you got to protect yourself. And to protect yourself, you got to be aware of what's around you. And you got to make sure you have enough food for yourself. And I think part of that is probably just genetically in us to survive. And
yeah,
then there's some other human beings you'll trust because however that trust is built, but there's some you won't. And then there's the reason where we fight wars still in the 21st century. And then the other parts, your environment's got to have a huge impact on it. What was it a scarcity situation when you were growing up? Did your family have almost nothing?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I want to relate this to a podcast I was listening to. So I was listening to the Willie Walker podcast, and it's a commercial real estate podcast. And this guy, he brings on all kinds of CEOs of different companies, and they talk about real estate. But he brings on this a fairly successful, fairly, I'll call it accurate economist over the last probably 40 years. This guy's been pretty spot on how the economy is going to look. So he brings this guy on, and this guy brings up a good point. He goes, And this was like 3 months ago when the stock market took like a huge shit, you know, and went like 40% down, right? And he's like, it's not a big deal. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like we just lost 40% in, a few days or in a week. And he's like, look, go back to August of last year. So go back, at this time it was like, 6 months. And he goes, do people have more money in their brokerage account and in their bank accounts than they did in August? Yes, they do. They have more money than they did in August across the country. And so he's like, what's the problem? We're doing fine. Like everybody has more money in their accounts than 6 months ago. So like, why are we all freaked out about something? Like if you said, hey, like, how you doing? Like financially, and you have more money today than you did 6 months ago, you'd be like, I'm good. So he's like, it's just a different perspective, but everybody was in scarcity mindset of like, oh shit, it went down. Down from what? Like down from like, from where? And I guess I'm criticizing myself is like, I've never had more money in my life than I do today. But I still feel the same way I did 10 years ago. I've never had more money. I've never owned more assets. So financially, I've never been better. However, right now I actually feel like, fuck, I need to make more money. Like I'm kind of concerned about it. That's so weird.
This makes me think of in that book I read, the Profit First book.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about a law called Parkinson's law. And it's basically that what we'll do as humans, this is human nature, is we'll always kind of, whatever resource we have, we'll use it. And this sort of explains why people can get really stuck financially and really stuck with their business. Because they might have a really good year and say, okay, like now this is how much we're making. So this is how much we'll spend now. And they'll always adapt to it.
Yeah. You're spending more money this year than you did the year before and more money, than the year before that.
That might be why people are freaked out because they might have, had 20%, profit and so they totally adjust everything. Like,
I think that's totally true.
We're going to get another condo and then everything drops. And they have more money than they did last year, but they don't actually have more money. Like,
sure.
And it's, he relays it in that book a lot because people will be like, at the end of the year, your account will go, you got to like, congratulations. You had a big profit. You got to pay $20,000 in taxes.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have 20 grand.
I don't
sitting around.
have it. Like, where's the, you know what I mean? Like, what's my books say this? And it's, so, I mean, maybe that's probably a part of why people are freaked out.
Yeah. And so I think that's definitely part of it. Like I spend more money than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Also, things have gotten a lot more expensive, right? Like, if you want to, I think it's funny, like, if you look into how the government calculates inflation, it's the most fucked up, flawed way, like, to do inflation, to like do a math equation. It's not accurate. And so, you look at your top 5 bills and compare them to 2 years ago. They're not even close, right? People's rent is way up. Their groceries are 60% higher. It's like all these things. If you just look at your top 5 biggest dollar spends, they're up a lot, right? So anyway, like I think things cost more, right? So if let's just say you made 100 grand 3 years ago, you should make like 140 now. 130, 140 grand now. Like it's gone up a lot. And people are like, well, that's crazy. How do you make, I don't make 30, 40% more money than I did 3-4 years ago. But after taxes and you look at the difference of what you have, you're like, oh shit, like I really should be getting back to zero, right? So that's why I think people are feeling that like they need to make more money. I feel like I need to make more money.
Yeah, it's hard to go backwards. It's not like you're like, oh, well, I'll just I'll make half of what I made. And and I'd love to study that law a little more, read more about it. But, you get to a standard that you're used to and you can't, like, anything going back from that just feels like, well, why am I, making way less now? And it just, for the most part, doesn't seem like the world works that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't, get a bunch of power and like, actually, like, I don't need this much. Like, I don't enjoy like being in charge of stuff. I want to like hand some of this back over. It's just, I don't know. I think that's human nature. And I just think there's some sort of like disconnect between like our human nature and then like what we really know is right. But I think it's like you get stuck in that mindset of fear. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Fear you're not gonna have enough, or you're not gonna make enough money. So you just like you don't even think about it, but you're doing shit that you don't have as much free time, you're not as happy, you're going crazy, and you're like, why am I look, and I'm as guilty as anyone. Why don't I buy more vehicles? Why do I try to make more money? And it's like, how many do I want to buy? When do I, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also say like fear can be a really good thing too. Like we shouldn't necessarily give it a bad name. Fear that you're afraid that you can't do something that you want to do. And so then you kind of, through fear, you scare yourself into doing it, right? You're like, I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this. And I'm going to work, really hard over the next 18 months to like, see if I can. And that's kind of a good amount of fear, it can be good. So I think, it doesn't have to all be negative. I guess there's a balance there of like, how hard are you pushing yourself because of fear? And then how hard are you abusing yourself from, you're like beating the shit out of yourself, about like, oh, I should be doing better. And I'm not happy because I'm not doing better. And, there's a balance there.
Yeah, I agree with the fear because I've said this a lot that some of my biggest fears are, which which keeps me headed in a certain direction. My life is kind of holding back and keeping myself cornered into, doing things that are safe. Like making the safe choice to me scares me more than making the risky choice. Because the thought of going through life, living a safe existence and just staying inside the lines, like that terrifies me because I'm like, for all I know, like this is the only chance I get. What did I do? Like just follow the standard plan and stay safe. Like that freaks me out. So I'll take chances. Like chances sometimes I'm like, man, what was I thinking? But I also don't walk around all day feeling fear. I feel more excitement and confidence. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like it's a little risky, but I'm going to do it because like this is living to me. But like I'm not walking around all day with a feeling of fear, but I also am. There's an element of fear that like if I just did the most boring thing and did the most basic life, that to me just feels kind of depressing.
Yeah, and I think I think fear has kept me from doing a lot of things I've wanted to do in life. And so I think about that now regularly and I'm like, fuck it, I want to try it.
I'm going to this is totally off the cuff and I don't even know if this will make sense. But I interviewed a guy yesterday. He has herds of bison. And he said, and this is a very common term in ranching and farming, is like, we got to push the cows. We got to move the cows.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pushing them.
They got to go to a different location.
Yeah. So we push them, with horses, 4-wheelers, on foot. And he says what he likes to do is pull them, not push them.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls them.
Okay.
And he's got these calls and like, and I know that cows are very trainable, like from being on dairy farms. I told him we had 44 stalls in our dairy barn and the cows would remember that which stall they were in. Like almost like at like 75%, like
what? Hey,
yeah, there's like
what is it? You know that?
Oh, like the one that my father said was cabas, like
hey, cabas, and they would come.
So I don't know if this whole makes sense, but I think if fear's like pulling you versus pushing you,
Yeah.
that's probably a much healthier way because you're getting pulled towards what you want instead of being, feeling like something's running. You're just like, no, that's like what I want. So I think that's more like motivation pulling you because there could be like the fear of versus like, this is bad.
You're scared of it.
Like, so you're not like not living in fear, but fear is, a deciding factor.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
I remember what I was thinking of earlier. This was pretty funny. I'm in the
About success?
No, remember when I said I was going to ask a question or something
Yeah.
before? This might take us on a totally different tangent.
Okay.
So I'm part of a business leads group in the Bozeman Chamber. We meet once a week, every week, except this week because it's the holiday week. And Chris, the woman that runs it, she's pretty fun because she'll say, introduce yourself, tell people what your business is. And mostly what the standard protocol is, like say what a good lead is for you. It's a leads group. Some variation of that, but she's like thrown all these different things in. Like, say like what's something that was a bad influence in your life that like had a positive impact. And the reason she's doing it, which is very intelligent, is she's getting us to know each other better. And then this was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. She's like, what keeps you up at night? Give your introduction, say what your business is, and then tell everyone what keeps you up at night. And it was funny because this woman was getting ready to present the second half of the hour meeting. Someone will present, one of the business owners, what their business is. She's having trouble getting the projector to work with her Mac. And I was like, oh, let me look at that. I'm a podcast producer and a tech guy. So let me see this.
Did you tell her that?
No. But I said I have a Mac. Let me see, because like I have messed with a lot of stuff like this. So I'm over there. It's hilarious that of everyone in the room, I'm the one over there. Like, go figure.
Fucking dairy farmer.
Yeah, it's just like anyway. So everyone's going around the room.
Dairy farmer, carpenter, grease monkey, everyone oil changer.
Everyone's going around the room saying what keeps them up at night. And I'm trying to help her fix this thing before it goes. And then we get it figured out. Sit back down, and like it's my turn next. So I got to like in front of 30 people. I'm like, oh man, I did not have any time to think about this because I was helping what's her name, and I was like, let's see what keeps me up at night. I was like, really just like the existential dread of life itself, And I was like, am I doing the right things with my life? Am I going to make payroll next week and be able to pay my guys? I was like, but actually, I sleep pretty well at night. That thought process more or less starts in the morning when I wake up. I was like, but not really. I sleep pretty well, but But I was thinking like I was thinking on her topics, like because for something you said,
what keeps you up at night?
What keeps you up at night, Kyle?
I've been sleeping pretty good. I've been working my ass off. Yeah, I would say like what keeps me up at night is like I'm super hyper focused on this project I'm working on, and so there's like things that are still going in my head in the middle of the night that are just hard to shut off. There's nothing like bad. It's more of like I want to get this shit done, and so I'm thinking about it a lot.
I had a dream last night about Profit First.
Okay,
I was like waking up in the middle of the night because I know how you feel when my brain latches onto an idea and a concept or something I'm working on. You'll start having dreams about it. You're thinking about it at night. You're like,
I've had dreams about work a lot the last couple months.
Yeah, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like doing something like you're like, what's wrong with me? But I don't know how it is when you.
Sometimes you have really good ideas too.
Yeah,
like to me, you have fucking good ideas, and I'm like, damn. Like I'm like sometimes I write them down, like if I actually wake up. But sometimes I would wake up and I'd be like, okay, that was actually a good idea. I'm going to try that today.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the ideas I have are like the weirdest thing that happens to me is
so speaking of that, the book Think and Grow Rich, the way that guy thought
Napoleon Hill.
The way that guy thought about that was in the middle of the night.
The whole book?
The name of the book.
Oh,
So
interesting.
he had the book basically basically done, and he had to come up with a name. And there for months he was trying to come up with the right name, and they went through all these different names, and none of them quite stuck. And he's like, "Fuck, like I got to figure this out." Well, middle of the night, like 2 a.m, he wakes up and is like, "Think and Grow Rich," and he goes, "Boom!" And so like he calls the publisher and gives them the name, and that's how it became the name of the book.
The whole idea to do the Mountain Mule podcast, literally, it was like a dream, and I was waking up and I started thinking about it. I'm like, this is like, oh my God, this is a really interesting idea. And then I'm like, I gotta write this down or tell somebody. And then I started thinking about it more that day, and I'm like, I have no idea where it came from. Like it came and it was like, hey, like, wouldn't it be really cool if you took a podcast and you just had all the other business owners on, and you started talking to them, and you could build these relationships, and then that could become your podcast, and it'd be what a great way to get more connected with the community, and start a reciprocity. Hey, let's come on and promote your business. You can learn about mine. Like, who doesn't win from that? And then I'm like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, I have no idea where it came from. Like I'd never thought about it before. Like maybe I did, or maybe I said just totally like random things. You like, man, it'd be funny if we ever made some money doing this. We got all this stuff, and like maybe that's the way I thought circulates.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, shit. And then I just like couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to encourage myself to think this way. Is like don't give so much weight to an idea, and just try it, right? Because you never know, like one thing leads to another, and like you really don't know how the universe works. Of like this thing connects to somebody else. We bring somebody on, you bring somebody on, they connect you to somebody else. Fucking 2 years goes by, and boom, it's like a friend of a friend of a connection, and you're like, if I didn't do that podcast, I wouldn't have met this person, wouldn't have talked to this person, and 2 years later, these things might have happened, right? You don't know. And so I think this podcast, your podcast, it's an idea, right? And so like kind of we were talking the other night about this, and I think lack of effort or
hey man, it's going to be the Kyle and Tim podcast with me and you doing this every week until we
whatever. That's fine. What I'm getting at is that like, I want to keep doing it, but I think all these things are leading to other things, and they're small and they're micro. All in all, I think, we look back more than a year now. I think this has gone great.
Oh man, I could sit here for the next 30 minutes and tell you. I could paint you connect the dot maps looking back from the Kyle and Tim podcast and Mountain Mule Media, and you'd be like
it's bizarre.
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
But this is one of the most interesting things of all of it was, and this is one of the biggest realizations I've had in business so far. Like since I've started the company, this is the biggest realization is when you go to somebody else and you have something to offer them instead of something to sell them, like you can completely transform the way you start a relationship. Like, hey, do you want to come on and talk about your business and share it with my clients and everyone's, with everyone that does it? And one of the biggest, I've learned this from the Chamber Business Group from that is, and I think some people have realized doing it is, oh man, I don't completely know what it is. Like, what am I trying to like? What is my sales pitch? What am I doing? And to sit down and say it, it's extremely helpful because I just spend a lot of time thinking, what is Mountain Mule trying to do? What's this podcast trying to do? What is my transportation company trying to do? What's the value in what I do? What does it provide to the world? And then we talk about the quality of Ubers and the thought of getting your family safely somewhere and me being able to pay my guys really well. Like there's a huge value in that. And then there's a huge value in people having a place to come talk about what they're doing and share it with the world.
Right.
And it's just cool when somebody says, hey, do you know somebody who does? I'm like, yep. you want to listen to an episode of them, or you want me to give you?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting because you're providing value that never existed anymore, or didn't exist before.
Yeah.
Before, and so you're adding value to yourself to be like, yeah, I know somebody.
Yeah.
And you actually do, and you're like, hey, man, you connect two people, and they're like, let's say like, you're not asking to be paid for that connection or a matchmaking deal or whatever. You're like, hey, man, like this is a genuine connection from person to person. Like financially, that may never come back to you, right? But like it'll come back to you in a different way.
Yeah, I think we don't, and I obviously don't understand this, but becomes more of a knowledge. Realize the connection to that kind of stuff. Like you don't see it directly, but like
there's a guy. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
You're good. It'll come back to you.
Go ahead.
I'm just kidding.
No, go ahead.
I know that it's
So we've been trying to order these really large transformers for these projects, and the lead time on them is like 2 years, 2 years or more, 2.5 years. And this electrical engineer that we have, who his job is not to his job is to design the substation. His job is not to go find the transformers, but he knows these people. And so he's connected us to these people who can get these transformers way faster. His connections are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
He knows like 6 people. Those 6 people that he knows is putting together billions and billions of dollars worth of projects. It's fucking crazy. And he connected us to them, and he's like, hey, man, yeah, you can call these people. I'm like, fucking hey, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's just insane the way bureaucracy, is that the right word? There's all these invisible walls to do so many things, and then you know the right person and call them, they're like, here you go. And
Yeah,
like,
well, you wouldn't, and you might try to find the right person that has those same characteristics for years.
Yeah, and the whole interesting thing though is like if you look at it all backwards, it's you just never you never know, and like that's why it's just generally great to be good to people and offer them something, because it's not like you could do this in a strategic way. Well, let me pick those 5 people, and I want them to be my friends because that will benefit me, and that will, you know what I mean? You could just smell the bullshit from miles away.
Yeah, and I think so so this leads into like the scarcity mindset. I've always like tried to hold my cards close.
Yeah,
because I've always been like, well, like I had to work really hard to get these things. The cards I have. I had to fucking kill some people, I had to steal a few, whatever it is.
sure.
And so I'm way more, in the last couple of years, I'm way more open to just giving the stuff away because I think it'll come back. And actually it has. Like the job I have now has come to me through offering information that wasn't available to those people. And now I gave it to them. It was available to them. They learned a lot. They were successful. And now they offered me a job.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, because they were like, man, this guy's really helpful. He's, whatever. I don't know. That's like speculation on my part, but you're good to people, and they return it to you.
It's funny because it's one of my favorite things. It's not one of my favorite things. I love when people call and they book with us because they want to use our service, but they're, oh, that doesn't work for this reason, or it's just a single passenger, and I'm like, well, hey, you know what? Like, let me give you, like, here's your best options, and here's what you can do. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, or try this person.
Yeah, you give them recommendations.
Yeah. And like we're a luxury car service. Like if you're like if you've got a like, who am I to judge? Like we've all been there. I've been there. But I'm like, man, it feels great to just be able to help someone even if they didn't use my service. There's enough people, unfortunate, that do use my service.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the way those things come back, like if your intentions are in the right place,
Right.
it's interesting.
And you're like, hey, have you heard of Uber?
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's a tough one to recommend.
I know, I'm just messing around.
Yeah.
How did we get there?
I don't know.
Oh, it's all right.
You want to do one more prompt?
Sure.
See if there's any other good ones in here. Yeah, let's do this one. The myth of arrival. Why we think we'll be happy once we get there, and why that's usually false. I'm not a philosopher.
I don't know, man. I've arrived, so yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about earlier. Like, I've never had more money than today, and I feel like I need to make more money. You know, so it's weird. Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know, to give a different opinion on that. Like, I think we do arrive at things, but sometimes you just don't notice them. You know, when your relationship's going really well, sometimes like you just like expect it. But like a year ago, you're like, maybe it wasn't going so well, or you were working on things. And then 6 months go by and you're like, man, things have been going really good for 6 months, but you don't notice it. And I think that happens with intimate relationships. It probably happens with parents and kids. It happens with your coworkers, you know, and you're like, man, things are just going good. So I think we do arrive in little parts and pieces. We just don't notice it. We want more. We want something different. We're on to the next thing. You know, it's like my house, what I've done to my house, you know, like I worked on the house for the last 5 years, and just like little things here and there. Like, it's great. The house is cool. It's better than it was 5 years ago. It's better than it was 4 years ago. It's better with 3, better than 2, better than 1 year ago, right? But I'm still like, oh shit, I should probably buy a new house. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, if we don't ever notice it, do you arrive if you never notice it?
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's, I mean, maybe it's just taking the time to look around and kind of sit in that feeling. Oh yeah, this is 5 times better than it was, and I'm really fortunate with how well things are going.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. I think we don't notice it. And also we evolve and we're like, well, I'm glad I fixed up the house, but I don't want to live in this neighborhood anymore. I don't want to live in this house anymore. And I can afford a different one. I can afford a nicer neighborhood. And so maybe I sell that house. Maybe I can move, you know, I don't know. That's cool too. That's forward progression. And that's great. I do think there's a slippery slope to that. Like, I don't think you can buy your way to success. I don't think you can buy your way to happiness, to being content. I don't think you can buy your way to peace. I think at some point, once you're like relatively comfortable and you like have X amount of dollars and you can breathe, a little bit more money than that, you know, let's just say another $100,000 a year, you know, take whatever that threshold is, add $100,000 to it every year. The difference between that and significantly more than that, I don't know that it's that much different, because you're doing well and you're doing good.
Alex Hormozy says, for people that say money can't buy happiness, they just haven't given enough away yet.
They haven't given enough away yet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I think it depends on your, you know, kind of why are you really doing any of it? You know what I mean? And like, that's when it comes back to, is it for personal gain? Can you attach yourself to some big idea? You're like, hey man, I see this big problem, and for a array of unexplainable circumstances has led me to be really passionate about this, and this is something I think should be solved or could be improved. And now I want to dedicate part of my life to solving this problem. And to be honest, one of the most impactful ways I can solve this problem is with a lot of wealth, because money's a tool and it has a big impact. So then maybe you're like, sky's the limit. Let's get there. Like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change this thing. Or is it like, man, I want to sit in my pile of money and be chilling. I got it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe if you spent your whole life in poverty and miserable too, you might just want some security and safety.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not the one to make these decisions.
Yeah, I think I think what it would be really cool is like the sweet spot is like having the options and the money for the choices, and then making choices that you want to make, right? And so you really do have security when you choose those options, right? And so you can choose to, like, I guess do whatever you want. I think that's probably where the sweet spot is.
Yeah, when you're in poverty and you don't know if you can pay your bills or afford your meals, or
Life sucks.
Yeah, it's not like that's just.
And you don't have a choice to go to work the next day.
You're in survival. Once you're not in survival anymore, and you can look at your life and say, what do I want to do? What means something to me and what matters? That's a totally different life that, a lot of people don't have that fortune.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's luck or fortune, but there's a lot of, I know Serini said this to us so long ago, and it like has stuck with me for so long, and I couldn't agree with it more, that there's so much luck involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts from with where you're born to how you get along with your parents, and if you get along with your kids and the circumstances. But I don't know what it is, but like it takes a lot of hard work, and it still takes a lot of luck and fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it can be a lot. It still can be a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
100%. I think it is a lot of work. Speaking of that, he just texted me.
Serini?
Yeah. He works for the same company.
He literally just texted you. Well, I'll be a son of a. Shout out to Serini.
Sorry, did you see it?
What do you say? Yeah, I see his name.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I didn't tell you this. Him and I work for the same company now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's since you started with those guys?
He joined us like 3 weeks ago.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Serini.
Yeah, man.
How do you say his last name?
Nukala.
Serini Nukala.
Serini Vasa Nukala.
Right on.
Yep.
See, that's that juju when you say somebody's name and then they text you.
It's crazy.
That's how it works. You saw it here on the Kyle and Tim podcast.
It just happened.
You want to wrap it up here?
Sure. Let's do it. Peace out.
Yeah, we need some more guests, so hit us up and we'll have you on. We're both busy, so be flexible.
And work around our schedule and shit.
Yeah. Thanks, folks. If you made it this long, appreciate you.
Do you want to do an intro?
We did one.